This looks like a normal family photo. But look closer. I'm already dead in it. I was 17 when it was taken. They carefully arranged everything. My jacket, my hands, the way I was sitting. They secured me to the chair because I couldn't hold myself up anymore. It had to look natural, calm, dignified, alive. They told my sister to come closer. She didn't want to. She hesitated, just for a moment, but still placed her hand on mine. The photographer kept adjusting everything, turning my face toward the light, trying to keep my eyes open. From a distance, you wouldn't notice. They weren't trying to deceive anyone. They were trying to keep me. There were no photographs of me while I was alive. Not because I didn't matter, but because people didn't take pictures the way we do now. It was expensive, rare, something most families simply lived without. So when I died, they called a photographer, not to create something strange, but because they had nothing else. Because without this, there would be no proof that I was ever here, no face to remember, no moment to return to. So this wasn't about how it looked. It was about making sure I wouldn't slowly disappear. By that time, this was already something photographers understood well. They knew how to arrange everything so it wouldn't feel out of place. Posture was important. Hands were positioned carefully, not too rigid, not too loose. If the body couldn't stay upright, they used stands hidden behind it, supports you wouldn't notice in the final photograph. Nothing was meant to stand out. The face was adjusted last, turned slightly toward the light, so it would look softer, more natural. Light made all the difference. Too strong, and every detail became harsh. Too weak, and the face lost its presence. Sometimes, if not much time had passed, they could prepare everything almost perfectly. The expression could still feel natural. The eyes, almost normal, especially from a distance. If more time had passed, they approached it differently. They arranged the person as if they were asleep, peaceful, still. And when there was nothing else that could be done, they adjusted the eyes later, on the photograph itself. Photographers of that time were skilled enough to create something very close to life. Everything was done with one goal, so that when you looked at the photograph, you didn't question it. So that when a family held that image later, they wouldn't see death. They would see the person they loved. When the moment finally came, no one moved. The room went completely still, not because they were told to, but because no one knew what to do next. They had to hold that position, long enough for the image to form. My sister's hand rested on mine. At first, it was light, almost careful. But then her fingers tightened slightly, like she was trying to feel something that wasn't there anymore. She stopped looking at me. My mother couldn't stop moving. She kept fixing my hair, straightening my collar, touching my hands again and again, as if she couldn't let go, as if stopping would mean she never could again. When the moment came, she stepped out of the frame. She couldn't stand next to me like that. My father didn't say anything. He kept his eyes fixed, but not on me. Somewhere past me, as if looking any closer would make it real. The photographer counted the seconds, quietly, almost under his breath. No one spoke. No one stepped away. And for a brief moment, everything in that room stopped. And then, the shutter clicked. And in that moment, I was left as nothing but a photograph. When it was over, no one moved right away. The room didn't suddenly come back to life. It stayed quiet, like something had been taken from it. The photographer stepped back first. He didn't say much, just a small nod, as if the moment had been completed. My sister slowly pulled her hand away, carefully, afraid to disturb what had just happened. My mother came closer again. This time, she didn't fix anything. She just stood there, looking, trying to hold on to every detail before it slipped away. My father turned away, not suddenly, not dramatically, just enough to stop seeing me like that. And then, little by little, the room began to move again. Voices returned, steps, small, quiet sounds. But something had changed. Because that moment, the one they tried so hard to hold on to, was no longer in the room. It was inside the photograph. Today, when we look at these photographs, we see something unsettling, something that feels unfamiliar, distant, almost wrong. But that reaction doesn't come from the images themselves. It comes from us. Because we live in a world where images are everywhere. We take them without thinking. We delete them without noticing. We capture moments long before we understand their meaning. But back then, an image wasn't something people had easily. For many families, there was nothing to look back on at all. No familiar face captured, no moment frozen in time. So when that photograph was taken, it wasn't strange. It was the only way to hold on to how someone looked, to remember them clearly, to come back to them, even after they were gone. And over time, that image became more than just a photograph. It became something you returned to, something you held in your hands when the room felt too quiet, something you looked at when you needed to remember a face, exactly as it was. Not perfect, not alive, but still there, still yours. And maybe that's the part we miss. We see the stillness, but they saw presence. We see something that feels uncomfortable, but they saw something they could not afford to lose. And when you look at it that way, it stops being about how the photograph was taken and starts being about why it mattered. Thank you for watching. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. When you look at these photographs now, what do you see? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more stories like this, subscribe to the channel.